Welcome to the Happy Pill Podcast. I'm Ursula Yerdun. In each episode, you're going to hear me share my story while offering information and resources while you continue on your journey of surpassing the effects of abuse and depression. I'm going to be doing some interviews with some very special guests who are going to share their journey and processes, because my way is not the only way of healing, and the more information we have, the more we can share with one another. My hope is that you find love, inspiration, and purpose for your life. So let's get started. All right, my friends, thanks for joining in. Happy to always have you here. Let's continue on. Today is talking about the rage room. Yes! And I still can't really yell, but I promised that I was going to talk about the rage room. So this is what we are going to talk about today. Okay, so here is what it is. The rage room, as I mentioned before, a very safe place for someone to go in and release some pent-up anger that's been sitting there for quite a while. So I did go with my friend. We went to the rage room here in Calgary, which is called Thundrdome Amusements. And first thing we did, it was in the morning, so we had to get dressed up in all of our gear. We got the huge, overalls. We've got the mask. We've got the gloves. Oh, and the chest protector. Yes, thank you. The baseball chest protector. So that was it. So anyway, the lady showed us all of the stuff that we could break, and there were little cups and saucers and clocks and an iron. And I was like, an iron, really? Like that was our biggest item. And both my friend and I thought that's not big enough. So we decided to go get this big ass printer. And so we got to choose our music. It's not very, anger inducing to listen to Yanni, or Yo-Yo Ma. So we went for some hard rock music. We're not into metal or country and stuff like that. So we went for hard rock. Like, let's get that adrenaline going. Let's get the heart pumping and everything. So we had our music going, and it's just starting to build and trying to scream and yell and just really build up our excitement. So I grabbed a crowbar. Actually, my friend, she grabbed her it was a metal pipe. That's what she was using. So we put the printer on the table, closed the door. Everything in the room, although it's been a well-worn room. There's lots of dents and scratches and the floor coming apart. So apparently it's a very popular room. So we're in this room, the music is blaring, and I take the crowbar, and I could feel it right away. As soon as I was lifting up my body and lifting up the crowbar, I could feel it in my core, this energy that really wanted to be expelled. So I did it, and I just let it all come out in that very first strike of the crowbar onto this printer. Yeah, that felt actually really, really good. It got stuck in the printer, but, that's okay. And it's so funny because my friend goes, I did the one hit. And then and I pointed to my friend, okay, like you go, it's your turn now. So she took her big swing with her metal stick and nailed that printer as well. And so we're going back and forth, just one hit each. We're so Canadian. This is a very Canadian thing, bursting out all this anger for one spot. No, it's your turn. Please go ahead. And that's what it was like for a little while. We're so Canadian. It was amazing. The music was loud enough that we couldn't actually hear each other. So we were using sign language and stuff. Not that I know sign language, but we were just, okay, it's your turn. And I would wave her in and she would do the same thing. We'd give each other thumbs up and we'd give each other high fives. And it was a really good time. So we kept going with that. And one thing I noticed, and I was trying to scream. Honestly, I really was. I was trying to release the anger, and every time that I would, pick up this crowbar and I would just bring it down, I was like, whoa! And of course, it was a little bit louder than that, but honestly, not by much. So I didn't have the projection that I normally would have. But I went into that day just thinking that I'm not putting an expectation on myself. I don't need an expectation. I don't need the stress. Just go. have fun, release that energy, that pent up energy that's been sitting there for so long. So I didn't have an expectation. So it was really hard to yell across this little tiny room to my friend that, okay, it's your turn. And then, it was really amazing. And so I would find this sledgehammer and I thought, oh yes, what is this going to be like with this sledgehammer? And all of our objects are breaking into these small pieces. And here's what I found interesting with two of the objects that I took a sledgehammer to. One was this glass, this little piece of glass that was from an actual glass. It wasn't from like a pitcher or anything like that. So it was the bottom of this glass, and I took the sledgehammer and I just put everything into it, and it literally just turned into powder, which was amazing. I have to say that felt really good for my ego. And my friend is standing there, and she's just waving her glove back and forth, and she had to scream, "Did you see that?" It just made me feel so good because of all this power that I was just taking and exuding and just putting into these, inanimate objects. There was also this ceramic bowl of some kind, and I, again, took my sledgehammer and I nailed that sucker. I nailed it so hard. Did what I could do best with my voice to scream, and sparks flew off of this ceramic bowl. This container, this little ceramic thing, and I was stunned. And I could see my friend, honestly, even though we're wearing masks and stuff, I could see her eyes just like light up. It's like, oh my God. And she pointed to, it's like fire, and it wasn't fire, but it sparked. So there's probably some kind of metal in the ceramic or something like that. But I don't know. It just felt really good to my ego. All I could say is really good to my ego. And it was fun. And I was surprised. Like my friend, she was going to town too. So, excuse me, once we kind of got into a rhythm, we would take our objects. I'd give her the sledgehammer or the crowbar. We would just use whatever we had. And we would then just do multiple hits, right? And what I found is when I got into that rhythm of more than just one hit, 4, 5, 6 hits or something, I just built up this momentum and this energy that was really coming through, and I would say some stuff, and I would swear, and I'm like, okay, and I would check in with my little girl. I'm like, do you want to say something? Now's the time. It's safe. Let's do it, and, so I'd let her scream and say a few words and stuff like that. And I'm just really just put all my energy into this because we had a limited amount of time. We had 45 minutes, which I thought, I don't know, is that long? Is that short? I don't know what we needed. Let me tell you, friends, we smashed everything in 20 minutes. Literally everything. It was all in pieces. And you know what was really wonderful about that? We didn't have to clean anything up. It was so good. It was so good to listen to all of this. And then when we finally got out of the room, I don't know, how do I say this? So our stuff, we could have a videotape out of it if we wanted to, but we chose not to. And it was just enough for me to go and have this experience, and the same thing with my friend. But when we stepped out of the room, there was an audience out front because as people were paying for their entertainment events that were coming up that day, they could see us in the rage room, which was really interesting. So getting out there, and I am full of sweat. I couldn't believe how much I was sweating in these 20 minutes that I was in there. Full of sweat. It was amazing. And then the reaction of people were just like, wow, you let that go. Well, yeah, that's kind of the point, right? That's the point of the room. And now that I've done it once, would I go back there? Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. How many times do we have pent up anger that's stored within ourselves and in our bodies that we just need to release? And it was such a healthy way to release it. It was really amazing. And I think one thing that surprises me is that there's a lot of people that actually don't know about a range room. So I'm hoping that for some of my international listeners, is there something like that that's available in your country that you can do? Is there a facility, or perhaps, like I said before, you create one for yourself? But it was really, really, really amazing. I had a good time. I was shocked that it was just 20 minutes in length. Seriously, 20 minutes? It was good. It was good. So after the rage room, my friend and I, we were going to go for lunch at this farmer's market that was really near the facility that we were at. And it was full, like the building was full, and it was a really, really cold day, really cold. But I was sweating so much. It was actually like minus 30, minus 34. Yep, welcome to Canada. And I had to like take my jacket off. I was just walking around in my t-shirt. I didn't put my hood on, or my toque, if you want to say it. No gloves, no nothing, because I was so warm still. And it took a long time for me to cool down, like almost 45 minutes to an hour. Oh my goodness. But we had lunch and I was just checking in with myself. I wanted to see how I was feeling. I was chatting with my friend. I was explaining stuff that I was going through. And I couldn't speak. You know, she could barely hear me. I had to sit right beside her. And, you know, my voice, you know, it wasn't the same. And I didn't want to go into that room with expectation. I really didn't. Perhaps I was a little bit surprised. So maybe I did have a little bit of an expectation that something would switch, you know, or something would crack open. My voice would open up a little bit more. But it didn't, you know, and it was okay. I think I was surprised at how difficult it was to speak after that, though. That one I actually was surprised. But I didn't take it as something that wasn't working. I just thought it needs time. My voice needs time. Like if it's taken me decades to lose my voice because of what I've experienced, it's going to take me time to actually reclaim my voice, you know, and it's not an overnight fix. This is definitely not an overnight fix. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was what I've really been feeling, and I've been sharing some of this stuff along the way with you. So here is something since the end of November that I've been doing, which is certainly leading up to the range room, was with everything that's been going on, the repetitions, the constant relapses and the triggers that I've been having with this CPTSD, what I did is I actually had to stop work. I'm still off of work because I kept having too many relapses. I kept having too many triggers, too many flashbacks. And one thing that I've noticed, and it probably started, well, honestly, since I've always had it, it's always been there. But since the awareness has come in, I've noticed more of the relapses. I've noticed more of the triggers. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It doesn't feel good when I'm going through it. But I feel like what it is that it's now exposed, right? The trauma is exposed and it's looking for a way out. It's looking for a way to get out of my body, out of my emotions, out of my spirit, you know, and it's needing healing. It needs to be addressed. It needs to be talked about. And the same thing with my little girl. She needs to be heard, which is why I went to the rage room, right? It's one of the techniques. So what I did to help myself is rest. Lots and lots of rest, because you've heard me talk about the exhaustion. You've heard me talk about the severe insomnia and the flashbacks and everything. And it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of my energy. And so what kept happening is that I eventually just couldn't go back to work anymore because I couldn't focus. I couldn't concentrate. I wasn't sleeping. And essentially what was happening is that my body was shutting down. Right? Because it can only withstand so much information and trauma before it's going to like literally collapse. So it's been happening with my voice. It's been happening with my sleep. It's been happening with my pelvic area. And this is what my body's been doing, right? So to honor my body, I actually had to stop work, you know, for a while I continue this journey. So I cannot express enough to you how rest and self-care is so important. If you're going through stuff, rest, right? You need the time. There is this great fear or this idea that's put out there that, you know, if you take time and if you do self-care, it's like you're not being productive in your life, right? There is such a stigma against that. It's like, oh, well, you're being lazy. You know, there's this mentality of hustle, and work hard and, you know, don't sleep, get up early and push. But it's such a disservice to us, you know, like what are we really trying to accomplish by doing that? Especially when we're hurting and when we're healing and when our body is screaming for rest. It needs time to heal, right? So if we get hurt, we have to give that length of time to heal so that we come back to center. So rest is important. Here are some of the other things that I do, and I share this with you because perhaps some of you are doing this as well. Like I'll rock from side to side. I've talked about this before, and I was doing it a lot for these past 3 months. I was rocking literally side to side. Something happened if I felt stressed, if I felt overwhelmed, if I felt sad, tired, uncomfortable, anything. I would just wrap my arms around myself, kind of like hugging myself, and I will rock side to side. It's a very soothing mechanism. I don't feel shame for that at all. Not one bit. I also have what I call my little Petey. Petey is my little polar bear, and he's a stuffed animal polar bear that I purchased, I think 2 years ago, just after, maybe 2.5 years ago. And when I was a little girl, I loved my stuffed animals, loved my stuffed animals. And it made me feel comfortable. So a couple of years ago, I purchased my little polar bear, who I've called Petey, and he sleeps with me at night. Yes, you know what? I'm 47. I don't care. I need this comfort, to heal part of my childhood. And this is what my little girl needed. And you know what? It's what I need. And I have no shame of that. None whatsoever. Why do you think kids have stuffed animals, as little kids, right? They want the security, they want the comfort, they want the safety. Well, as an adult, while I continue to go through my process, I want the same things. So I do that. What else do I do during this time? I've been journaling a lot. And then there's some days I don't, but I get really specific. I'm monitoring my time. I'm monitoring my medication that I'm currently on and how it affects me, right? I'm monitoring how my voice is progressing. And as you can hear, it's perhaps getting a little bit better, but it still has lots of cracks in it. It's not as smooth as it used to be. So, but I give it time. And I'll meditate with it. I'll visualize my throat healing. I'll visualize my little girl releasing what she needs to release. She'll say what she needs to say. And I work at that. I mean, if she's been abused for 7 years, this is not an overnight process. It's not going to happen in a few weeks, and it probably won't even happen in a few months. So I really need to take care of her. So I do that. I'll journal and I'll talk with her. Music. Again, I've talked about music before, how important that is to me, right? Because it takes me out of a stressful situation if it's a particular kind of music. During this time, I've also been talking a lot. I've really been talking with my therapist and talking with my doctor and just being truthful, open, honest. And I mean, not that I wasn't before, but as I'm becoming more aware, I'm noticing how much more I'm speaking and conversing and not feeling so much shame about what happened to me before, because of course I held shame. I held so much doubt and guilt with myself throughout all of these years, but now I'm looking at it differently, and I'm looking at it differently because of the awareness, because it's expanding, and now I'm looking at it almost with more interest, going, wow, look at this message. So when I look back at what happened in November, the end of November, that one, of course, rocked my world. They all rock my world, right? And then it's like I'm not myself. So it takes me time to recoup, recover, which is why the rest is so important. And then I can finally look at it a little bit more in depth. And it becomes information, right? All this sadness that I'm feeling. And when I start to look into the feelings, the feelings of hurt, the feelings of shame, the feeling of loss of my vocal ability, I'm looking at the information going, what do I need? Sometimes I don't have the answer right away. So it means I need to rest, because the answers are coming. And every time I take a step forward, whether that's with my therapist or, some kind of journaling or a meditation, and I step forward, it keeps growing. It keeps healing every little step. I've also been very mindful of my water intake. I've been increasing my water, right? Because water not only can help lose weight, of course, but I'm providing the hydration in my body, which is going to help with my energy. So for me, I'm having about, I aim for seven glasses. Now, I know they say like 8 glasses a day, but I'm looking at my water bottle, and it's a 20-ounce water bottle. So it's pretty tall. It's glass. I like to use the glass because I don't want to use any plastic. I'm trying to be very environmental. So when I have 7 of these a day, which is what my goal is, that helps with the exhaustion, right? I'm not saying that it helps me sleep better at night, or that, going to sleep is easier. But when I do it, when I stay on top of it, then I'm less tired because my body is actually dehydrated, especially when I'm emotional, especially when I'm crying or something like that, or I've just expended a lot of energy like I did in the rage room. Rawr! Yeah. Drink more water. And that's what I've been doing. Drinking more water. Tea. I've had lots of tea, or lemon ginger water. I make a lemon ginger water as well, and I put honey in it. And that's generally the most of my beverages. I don't really have like pop or alcohol or anything like that. Those aren't really my beverages of choice. It's nice on occasion, maybe a couple times a year, but they're not my beverage of choice. Water is so, so amazing. So in the next episode, my friends, what I would like to talk about is one of the healing techniques or therapeutic techniques that I use with my therapist. It's called EMDR for short. Eye movement desensitization. Here I go. Oh my God, too many S's. Desensitization and reprocessing. Let me see if I can say that again. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Why is that so difficult? I have no idea. I'm going to work on that for next week. But this has been a really beneficial and healthy technique for me to use with my therapist. I want to talk about that. What is that? How can that actually help you? I'll share a little bit of my experiences and the visuals that I go through, especially the last one that I did just a couple of weeks ago. So I'd like to share that with you. I thank you for listening. I hope you like the shorter format of the episodes. I know that I'm liking it, so I hope that works for you. And again, always, if you have comments, questions, let me know. Okay? I love to hear from you. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you or someone you know is in immediate need of help, please contact your local authorities, distress center, or professional care provider. If you'd like more information on this episode or other topics, go to my website, ursulayourdone.com.